So welcome to Vibrational Revelations. Hero's Journey. Very special episode with Elizabeth Butler. And before I introduce Elizabeth, I just have to say, for those of you that are brand new to our community, these are actually my favorite episodes. I know you guys love for us to reveal public figures, but these episodes are the most meaningful because yes, everyone is a real person, but it becomes very tangible. And this is how we all learn, expand, and feel deeply touched. So that's what makes these episodes my favorite, at least. I think your favorite too.
Yes.
Yes, so special. And we have a few people who join and they'll say, oh, I've never watched those episodes. I didn't even realize they were relevant. I'm like, these are the most relevant episodes. And before I introduce Elizabeth, one more thing I wanted to say is sometimes, well, in most cases, when we do our vibrational frequency analysis, like we've done with you and with so many that have had a reading with us, there's something magical that happens afterwards. And this magic is something Elizabeth will share with you because it's just so remarkable. And she happens to be in the field that I think all the fields are important, but creativity is something that we're all born with. And it is that absolute place of, as I say, falling in love, being in a state of love and allowing that love, which is the divine essence that flows through each and every one of us, to flow without any restrictions. And this is what today's episode is all about. Because Elizabeth comes from a background of being classically trained artist, painter, right? And I love it. And I love what you're going to share with us because I've never thought of it in the way, like you were actually our first example in a way of what it truly means to have a certain frequency and being an artist. And what does it really mean for you as an artist? And how you were able to connect to the information that we gave you and literally change the course of your life, probably the course of your career in many ways. And then, you emailed me and you said, but I didn't do a lifetime with you. And I said, it's not even relevant because you did it. And you're like, oh, that's what I felt. So please introduce yourself and then we'll go into your frequency analysis and share everything that came after that.
Okay, yeah. Well, hi, everyone, and it's nice to meet you, Alejandro, and good to see you again, Elena. And I'm so grateful to have found you guys. And I'm an artist. I got my degree, I've got a painting degree. The focus was figurative and portrait painting. I taught after that art, all different levels, but mostly high school and grade school. And I loved that. But a couple years ago, I knew it was time to make a shift and to expand. And it was definitely challenging. And it took me, a year of just, no job and trying to, other things to try to make it work as I kind of transitioned to being full-time professional artist. So now it's been about 3 years and it is my full-time career and it's amazing and wonderful. And I'm so blessed to be able to do what I love every day and connect enough with other people. It's really, for me, I love painting, I love making the work. I feel so blessed to be in that. And then the most beautiful part is really seeing other people connect to it also. And it just really enhances my sense and understanding of kind of how we're outside of time and connected beyond so many other things, because I'm inspired by something. I make this piece in my studio and who knows when later, a month, 2 weeks, a year, 2 years, somebody sees it and connects as if it was made for them. And so it's always, that's one of the special, like the process is what matters most to me, but that connection is what's truly incredible. And it's helped me understand just how outside of time, we all are. And that, of course, is also enhanced in the art making process itself. So that's my introduction.
Amazing. And one thing I'll tell you is, when you send your painting, the new version of your art, and you send the links, that was the first time I actually looked at your artwork.
Yeah.
And I saw a couple of paintings that you've done, and you probably have never seen my social media, but you actually paint one of my favorite flowers.
Really?
It's like this rose, between rose and peony. You have that in some of your, yes.
Yes,
and I'm like, oh my God, she's painting my favorite flower. But your flowers are so vivid and alive and beautiful. And today what I'd like to do is to focus on, we'll go through your numbers, and I would love for people to understand your journey of the frequency that we revealed to you and what that meant to you. Yes. And the process that you took, because this process is very important. And I will say that, Manuela is listening today, and Manuela described it in many ways also in her own, because she was a dancer, right? And I thought there's absolutely connection for you also to connect, but you're expressing it in painting, which is manifestation. You're manifesting it right away for people to enjoy, to see, to bathe in. So let's start with your numbers. We'll go through them, and then perhaps if you want, you can give us feedback. Would you like to give us feedback as we're reading it to you, or do you want to wait and then give feedback of what that meant for you?
I will give feedback after, yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. All right. And of course, I didn't recheck where you are today. We didn't do that. But anyway, your art speaks for itself. So, and your experience, you're incarnated at the frequency of 400, which is the frequency of reason. And as I say, oftentimes say it's very analytical frequency. You were born at the frequency of 200, so you had a drop due to whatever your mom was experiencing. Your overall frequency, the last time we read you was March 11th, was the frequency of 400. So again, very analytical approach, very analytical frequency of reason. You viewed health through the lens of 200, which is the frequency of courage. Finances, 250, which is neutrality. Creativity, you viewed through the lens of 400. Reason, and I said to you, it was an analytical frequency, which I want people to think about it for a second. We're speaking with an artist, okay? And what that means. Relationships. You viewed relationships, you view them through the lens of 400, which is reason. Also analytical approach to establishing relationships. Personal growth, you viewed through a frequency of 250, neutrality. Philanthropy, frequency of 250, neutrality. Intuition, you view through the lens of 250, neutrality. And then, of course, we broke it down for you into 4 aspects. Clairaudience was 110, clairsentience, 400, clairvoyance, 400, and claircognizance, 250. Alejandro will give you the percentages. I love what you've done with all of it. That's what we want every person to experience.
In the joy, 84%. In the ego, 94%. And 93% of that represents the inferior version of the ego. In the now, 84%. Integrity, 100%. Self-awareness, 82%. Clarity, 88%. Alignment with divine purpose, 98%. Alignment with personal purpose, 97%. Compassion, 98%. Empathy, 96%. Energy purity, 93%. And when it comes to dimensions, you're experiencing life 8% of the time on the 5th dimension.
This was back in March.
Back in March.
So we talked after I gave you the numbers, we talked about what creativity means for you. And I want you to say what you said.
To you then?
Yeah, to
I
me
don't
then.
remember.
You said, "Oh wow." Well, first you took a deep. I think you were taken back, and then
Yes.
yeah, and then you said, "Oh, it makes sense because I was trained as a classical artist, and I've never allowed myself to have an opportunity to. I don't even know what it's like to paint just from feeling,
Yes. Yes.
right?"
Yeah, that's totally true.
That was
And
totally.
that is,
Mhm.
that's exactly what I said to you. And it was, and that's why I got this reading to begin with. I had been listening to mostly it was all just like the live streams and the free episodes. And so you did one on the artist. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. I have to know. I have to know where I am, because it is, I know that it's my calling and I know that it's my passion. And so I wanted to like, and what you said at the beginning, which is the analytical frequency, like that, you will see throughout my whole approach to this information, how beautiful like the analysis was that led me to kind of figure out how to experience what I want to experience. So I took a lot of info, I thought a lot after I got the reading. There was just a lot of analysis, just beautiful. And I thought a lot about the information. Well, first I cried, and I just want to tell everyone, like, it's just beautiful. I cried the second I heard this, like, as soon as you just said your incarnation frequency was 400, I just started crying. I'm going to cry again, because I think it's so beautiful that we have the opportunity of choice. So it wasn't about the number. I think you could have said any number. I would just cry, because it is so beautiful to me that we get to choose in this life, and that's what I chose. I don't know why. So it's almost like what it actually felt like was a connection to myself. Like, yes, I did. That is what I chose, and that's so beautiful. And then my incarnation frequency was 200. So there was that drop from incarnation to birth. Sorry, so my birth frequency, and just hearing the emotions that my mother experienced in utero that led to that drop was like, yes. And that's every emotion that I have struggled with on a really deep level. And I know that my frequency dipped below that many times in my life. And that's why I didn't feel the need myself at that time for a lifetime analysis, because I know how it feels to be in some of those other vibrations. And so it's like, I could tell you when I was there, and I think that most of these major increases has happened in the past couple of years of my life. It's really just been as I expanded into stepping into my highest purpose and my divine calling. And so that was the other thing I thought, because at first I looked at my number, I'm super happy, but there are things that I thought, oh, well, I kind of thought that would have looked a little different. And then you start to have to face the reality of it. And you're like, no, that's exactly accurate. And then I started to move into, okay, well, what do I want to do with this? Because I was inspired primarily by these numbers of these creatives, what you both commented on, right? That connection between creativity and intuition. So recognizing that was really what was the catalyst for me, was like, I want to know, and I want to be in my full expression, and I don't want there to be any resistance. If God is speaking through me, if divine creation, I'm co-creating, like, I don't want there to be any resistance for whatever's supposed to come through me. So I want to, and I had that thought before, and that's what motivated me to figure out, where am I in all this? And then I thought too about, so at first I almost got caught up in like, I need to raise my frequency. And then I realized, like, I'm aligned 98% with divine purpose. So, and I'm back to my incarnation frequency, and I do feel, I'm living my purpose. So I get to choose what I want to experience. Cause I really am, I could say, I can just keep not sailing. I've done a lot of work to get back up. But so that's when I realized, you know, I'm gonna just kind of let go of some of these other things that thought, oh, my, you know, I'm just at 200 with my health. And I thought with my, you know, just things and I just was like, you know, actually, I'm 98% aligned with divine plan. So it's okay. I can stay there. There's 2% more, but that will, you know. So then I thought about, okay, where do I want to be? I really just want to experience full openness to creative flow and a deep connection and full trust with my intuition. And it made sense that my highest for my intuition was clairsentient and clairvoyant. And so you had also mentioned to me, Elena, you know, before you paint, maybe, and I do some ritual, like I'll usually light some herbs or incense or essential oils, like I have. And I also realized that I often dance before I paint. So I'm thinking about these things because I'm recognizing like that dancing is activating my clairsentient, you know, my body. That's what dancing is for me. It's just a total fluid response, not even to music necessarily, but I feel very connected to that aspect of my intuition. So I thought about that. And I had read Hawkins' Power versus Force. So I reread the sections that he has on each category. And I knew that you can't skip, you know, like if I'm at analysis, sorry, it's not the frequency of analysis, but if an analytical, you know, I was thinking of how I experience my work, and it's extremely analytical and it's beautiful. And I love what I do, but I have been desiring to feel more fluidity and flow in that process. I was trained analytically. So when I look at a painting, when I approach how I work, all of it is highly complex. And I am managing like some very complex paintings. I have a strategy for the whole thing. You know, like I have a strategy, I have a plan, I have a reference, and I make a drawing, make that drawing onto a larger canvas, and that's how I was trained. And it is a wonderful, beautiful thing. You know, I'm so grateful for it. But now that I have that strategy and I know how to do that, I've been wanting to experience more. So I was thinking about, okay, so love vibration, that would be right next. And that got me super excited because there had been a moment last year in the midst of making one of my paintings. It's gonna make me cry.
That's okay.
That was just so beautiful. I had this little moment when I was painting and felt very free. And for a moment, you know, I was not thinking quite so much. And I just felt love. I felt absolute love for my work, love for the experience, loved by the divine, just totally enveloped. And it was so beautiful. I recognized it, that I had shifted at that moment. And so I remembered that and have held on to that and have spent time thinking, how do I get there again? What are the things? So then I thought through my own process, because I'm like, okay, I know I've experienced that love, my vibration in my work before. You know, when does it happen? And it usually happens mostly when I've finished most of the analytical aspects of the piece. So maybe I'm 90% done. I feel comfortable. I feel safe. I feel like everything is as it should be. I'm a little more free now to express perhaps, or just let go and really allow just to work intuitively. So basically I was pulling in all this information, thinking about that, knowing that I have to approach the next, you know, there's no skipping steps. And this is a side note, but I had thought about this too. And I just want to encourage everyone that, like, wherever you are vibrationally, whatever you're attracted to at that point is exactly what you need to get you to the next. Because I had thought about the fact all this information was so helpful, right? So Carolyn Mace is somebody that for the past couple of years, has really helped me on my journey. And I recognize that, oh, she vibrates at 400 overall. Or Joe Dispenza, that's somebody who his meditations for a really long time kind of pulled me. He also vibrates at 400. I've noticed recently that their work is not as interesting to me anymore. However, so I thought about that, and I recognized that there are books that I read 3-4 years ago or 2 years ago that I think were probably more just like at that level of courage, at vibrating at that 200. But that is so exactly what I needed. I was in such a difficult spot that I just needed somebody to offer just a little bit more, like Carolyn Mace would have been way too much, or anyone else would have been way too much. I couldn't. And in fact, I had read Hawkins in the past and read it and thought, okay, that's interesting. I'm going to put that down, So basically I thought about that too. And I was really keen to sort of say, I'm not gonna, because it can be tempting to the ego anyways, to be like, well, I'm going to now follow this guru who vibrates at this. And it's like, no, that it's back to me. Here are the frequencies I'm working with. So how can I most assist that process? So that's why my focus was so every day I would do meditations on what it would feel like to relive that experience, but with all my paintings, that love vibration that I just had this little taste of. So that would be like part of my daily meditations would just be practice. I mean, it's so fun. Like, it's so fun to be able to meditate and practice and be in touch with that. And I did that for, it was March. So I guess it wasn't that long. It felt like a couple months, but I did that for some time. And then I made a plan for creating a space to enter into that flow, which, learning from all of your commentary and then listening and thinking more, it was like, okay, so intuitively, if like my overall frequency was 250, I think, right?
Intuition, yes, 250.
Yes. And so I was thinking more about just being willing to accept whatever comes through. Mm-hmm. And so I set up, and then I thought about how I could connect with that intuitive aspect from the very beginning that I seem to only be connecting with towards the end of a piece or momentarily when I feel really safe or out of analysis. So I decided to start out with a meditation. And so I set aside some time, but again, like I didn't approach this for like probably at least a month, because I knew like I'm not gonna, I have to feel comfortable, right? And so meditating for a month on how it would feel to experience love and just being in love with my creativity and in love with the process, unconditional, right? So that's where it connected to my intuition also, because if it's unconditional, then you just love everything about what you're making. You love everything that you're doing. And for most of my work, it's analytical. I love it, but let me tell you why. Let me analyze for you how it's working and the areas that need improvement. And that's how I work when I paint. There's an analysis to structure and form and formal components. And I also thought about how the intuitive plays in, and I recognized that when I'm fully trusting my intuition and there's no resistance, then there's no judgment. And so I kind of had all this, I feel like I grasped it. I felt like I grasped the process I would need to both create for myself and go through. And so then it was about setting up the environment to support that. And so I knew dancing before would be important, or at least a meditation And then I had thought I was gonna like dance before, like I often do, to connect to my body, but it turned out that the meditation, which I set up just to be open, was a body meditation. And I don't have any experience with that. So I'm not, you know, I don't know what that might mean something different to someone else. But for me, it was, I sat in stillness for a while, and then I just felt like my body was asking me to move in different, and that felt very natural because of my experience with dance on my own. So I just spent probably 45 minutes moving my body. And I think that it was just such a safe way to connect with your intuition, because you're not judging why you should move your arm like this or I just judged none of it, you know? So, you know, I might be in this strange back bend position all of a sudden. Like I just unquestionably was like, I will move my body however my body's asking me to move it. Beautiful. That's so fun. And because of that connection, and I've always been very physical, very athletic. So that's a strong connection for me. So I was like, I will enhance that connection as much as possible, not judge it, and just move through it. I did that for about 45 minutes. And then I set up to paint, and I decided to approach the painting process in the exact same way, which was kind of feeling the intuition through my body. It wasn't going to be through the voice. That one was pretty low for me, but through my body and through what my vision, but what would appear in my mind's eye. So I had, and this is very different for me. I'm sure many people approach painting this way, but I have not, and I have been unsuccessful, and I've tried. I had no image in my head that I was trying to create. I had no reference to work from to give me that image. And I didn't have a plan besides, like, you know, the size of the canvas that was up. And instead of trying to decide first what I was going to make and then create the strategy of how best to make that, it was just moment by moment. It was like an extreme practice of being in the present and not questioning whatsoever. So typically I would look at my reference. No, okay, well, I usually start with the dark. I usually start with dark values. And that's going to be these dark green leaves. And those are really large. And I need the edges to be soft. And I need a very large brush for that. And it's going to look like this color. You know, that's how I work. So instead of that, it was totally open. And like, okay, what brush am I picking? And as a response to my body, this brush, okay, fine. Like, what color? And just without question, I would take, it was a strange thing. It was almost like practicing, I don't know how else to say it besides like being a good steward, being obedient to just unquestioning. Okay. And as soon as I would start sometimes to step into analysis, like I'd be like, oh, that's starting to look like a tree. And then you go into language analysis, it would pull me right out. And so I would stop myself, like, no, we're not analyzing it or judging it, because even deciding what it is, I will move into a process of, oh, well, that's a tree, then they need to have leaves, and leaves look kind of like this. Mm-hmm. And so anything like that was like, no, just stay present to the next thing. Okay, use this brush. And so every step that I typically had a strategy for, instead it was just checking in with my intuition, being like, how much, okay, am I still using this brush? Yes, still use this brush. Rinse it out, change color, don't rinse it out. So it's like, there is direction for all of it, but it was because of connecting with that intuition. And so it was just like, it was incredible. It was so fun. It was like, it was a short exercise, but now I'm incorporating it more into like my warm-up so that I can continue to work, because there's nothing wrong with having a strategy or using a reference, but being able to rely more on intuition and let go of whatever resistance I have, so that I can be in a place where I'm working on perhaps a more representational painting, but my intuition asks me to use this color, and I don't argue. I don't try and make sense of why that color goes there. I just don't argue. Okay, great. And so I'm excited because I think that I'm just excited. I'm excited. It was wonderful. It was like, I get it. I totally connect to this, and kind of just bringing that into, okay, so now I can continue to focus on that love vibration in my morning meditations, and not and take from, okay, how did that experience with my creativity and intuition, because they were linked, very strongly. How could I bring that into the rest of my life? And so that one experience now is flown into how I listen to my intuition, because now I can really recognize when I go, oh, you're just like questioning yourself again. You're questioning that why, so that's really helped me in all areas. And then also, even when I'm just working on a piece and maybe I'm not in that, I can feel when I'm disconnected from my intuition, and why it's important to be super, let's say my girlfriend calls and you're talking on the phone while you're painting, and you're thinking you can kind of do it, but I disconnect from my intuition. So now I'm just making a copy of something. So it's just kind of brought awareness to every area of my life, how I interact with creativity and intuition. And I think we all ask about that when we see somebody who's really creative, whether it's in the arts or any area. We're like, wow, where do they just get these ideas from? Because people always want to know, like, where do you get your ideas? And I am focused on florals right now, but I think that too, people who just seem to have ideas, and it's recognizing that they're all within, like everything, we have it all, every single piece. It's just letting go of the resistance to what isn't allowing those ideas to emerge, because they're all within us. And so it's helped me to even get more excited and recognize, like, if I can continue to work through and face whatever fears are surrounding full expression and full openness to creativity, then I'm going to continue to expand in that area. And if I'm not judging my intuition, and if I'm not afraid to follow it, if I'm not afraid to use a different tool, right? Because for some people, you'll see them working, and they, it's like, for me, very practically, it's just like, using this differently than you usually do. How does somebody get an idea to say, I'm going to use the back of it, and it's like, you have that same idea. It's just who's going to let go of the resistance, of the fear that comes from, I think often it's going to, whether we're conscious of it or not, but those different fears about others or yourself, about using something differently in a different way. But we have all of those ideas and I loved seeing other people's heroes' journeys, and seeing where all these different people who aren't expressing their creativity with paint, like I am, who have huge creativity numbers, and so knowing that it's in all areas of my life, how can I stop questioning? How can I allow my intuition to speak clearly, act on it immediately, unquestioningly? And then I think that also builds my own trust in myself, and trust that, I'm completely safe and supported in this universe to express and allow that flow to come through. And I think that's often what it is, given that, art is a form of self-expression. And so no matter how much I might want to have an enlightened creativity, if there's still fear about expressing myself authentically, like, it's not going to come because I can't handle it yet, but I'm getting there.
Amazing. I mean, you kind of touched upon every point that we talk about. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
And, for me, when you say that you connected through your body, it made sense, because the body represents you are the paintbrush.
Yeah.
And you are the channel through which all of this wisdom is flowing. So you have to attune to this, because the actual physical paintbrush is an extension of all this and the higher realms that you're bringing through.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah. Really.
Thank you. I do have a question for you. And I know you said that there's other artists, we've read, who have these higher frequencies.
Yeah.
And I wonder, if it came to you, of course, you were thinking about it, I'm sure, with your analytical mind. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with having analytical mind. I think Alejandro always says, bring your analytical mind with you into higher frequencies.
Genius mind.
Yes, it's good. What I want to know, and maybe many people here want to know, from an artist perspective, somebody, let's say, like Leonardo da Vinci, Van Gogh, Monet, Renoir, their original styles, do you feel, I feel that, but I'd love for you to expand on it. Do you feel it's allowing to fearlessly tap into that divine field and express it without questioning?
That's exactly, that's the key, is the without question. That's really scary. I don't know why it's scary, but it just is. It just is, because when I make something that's comfortable, that makes sense to me, it's protected in some ways from criticism, because I know it works. Like my analytical brain, my understanding of the formal elements and concepts of art, I know that it's beautiful and I know that it works. And so there's a certain, I don't know. So it's more unknown to just not question something that, from my experience of the process, seems out of order. For example, in the process, like, this is a different order than how is it going to work? And so it is that, unquestioning aspect. And I will say too, that the training has been incredibly important, because while I'm in this intuitive painting, a color flashes in my head and I know how to mix it, because I've mixed it 1,000, 100,000, I've mixed it so many times that I'm able to be in the flow and know, that's the color. And 3 seconds later, I have the color, so it would be more difficult if I didn't have the technical understanding and in the time spent, like I've spent so many hours that I don't have to think. And so it helps me move out of analytical, right? So if you're learning how to mix that color, and that's what's beautiful about, I think, the wisdom of the body, it's not going to ask you to do something you don't know how to do. So like, I'm safe there, but it allows me to stay in that flow. And I think when you look at artists historically, and you do look at the progression of their work, like there is this, I think if you look at it, and that would be super interesting. And I'm sure I would be interested to see how the frequencies of all of their works, if they, change, if that's possible.
That would be fascinating. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Because it's like somebody, I think of Van Gogh's earlier work, for example, and some of it's very dark and depressing, whether what it vibrates at, who knows, and whether that changes as he himself has changed and perhaps energetically, put something else in it. But I think many artists, you can see their progression from, or even just courage. I can think of Van Gogh's beginning line work, and there's a hesitancy, and there's hesitancy in my work. And then when you start to see marks that are confident, and I mean literally physically marks that are not hesitant, and you see it often a lot with beginning artists too, since I've taught, like I think about that too. How was it teaching students? And when you're hesitant, the mark you put down energetically, of course, it's imprinted with that, but then physically we can perceive it too. The paint looks different, the feeling is different. And so growing that confidence and that unquestioning, I'm not going to question my intuition, then you have this, you make a mark that's decisive in that sense. And I think it communicates through the piece and the energy of the whole piece, which is what we feel when we experience artwork, which is why a print is never, ever the same, you know, because you feel differently with it. You just feel different if you're attentive to it. But anyhow, yes. Did I answer your question?
Yes, so beautifully. And, to me, I always say all these aspects are important, but I always touch upon in all of our appointments, I always talk about creativity, because I always say that creativity, every human being is born creative. We all have it within us. And it's the ability to tap into that innocent, childlike essence where you do not judge yourself. You just take action because it's magical. You feel the magic. And that's the part that we all have. And some people express it as artists. And then some will say to us, well, I don't paint, I don't sing. I used to think I'm not creative. And for those of you that are new, I create perfumes, natural perfumes. And I remember the first time I made that creation and I realized something magical happened. Because it's one thing to know the technique. Yes, you have base, middle, and top notes, right? There's certain rules. But then it's allowing to tap into, let's say you want to create a perfume with rose, but it's allowing that rose to guide you, right? Mm-hmm. And allowing for that divine to come through without questioning. Yes, there's formulas, certain number of things, but those can be adjusted afterwards. So I understand that creative process. And for me, it was a huge aha moment because I've never imagined myself being creative. And I know that that's possible. And we always, Alejandro will say, well, maybe for you, it's about cooking in the kitchen and making that amazing dish. Yes. Or maybe it's taking photographs, whatever that might be. It's important to allow that state or that feeling of falling in love and allowing for that, imagining it and allowing for it to take over you, right? Yes. And that's really the magic that happens. And I feel that that's directly linked to also to enhancing all other aspects of our life. Feeling inspired. Yeah.
Very much so. And it's like, I think anyone can create a space. For me, I created a space specifically to paint, to experience my intuition and creativity. But I think that whether you want to get started painting or anything, it isn't about, I think, Alejandro, you've said it so many times, right? Inspiration and action. It is about being inspired intuitively by something around you and taking action on that inspiration. So whether it's like, of course, I'm always going to go to visual things, I'm going to rearrange the room in this way. And because I feel inspired to, and, it's when somebody thinks of a different use for something, like that is always used in a particular way. And now I'm going to be inspired to try a different way. So, because there's so many people who you've read and who have very high creativity numbers, and they're not quote artists, but they are, because I think we all are, because we're all connected to source. And if the divine is like so creative, and if we were all enlightened, our creativity, imagine, okay, amazing, fully realized creativity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes.
So
and by following the feeling,
mm-hmm.
which is the link to the divine intelligence, and instead of just relying on the intellect of all the knowledge that we have acquired, right? We can make a life itself and a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And it is like, it's a process. It's a process I'm excited to be going through, because for right now, analysis will be much more comfortable. It's just more comfortable, but meditating on that and constantly thinking or feeling, not thinking, but feeling, okay, how does it feel to be in this love relationship with source? How does it feel? And and going back to that in my work. And then I know that will, like in my life, and the same thing with relationships, just all those, because that was the other number that was higher for me. And I thought, that actually makes a lot of sense. Yes, when I relate to people, like I am thinking carefully and kind of in a very, but wow, how cool would it be if I was just in love? It's almost like a break from the analysis. I wouldn't mind, take a break.
That's so great. Oh my gosh. People are asking for you, if you can right now, to maybe show some of your work. That painting behind you, of course, is your work.
So, and this is a piece from, and I just have this. This is a piece from a couple years ago, and sorry about the light glares on it. So this is one of my first pieces when I kind of went full time. So it's beautiful. I love it. I keep it because it's significant to me, and I think it like kind of perfectly exemplifies like a very beautifully analytical approach. It's highly technical. It's like very, which I still love. Like I absolutely love it. I love it.
Beautiful.
But that's, and that, I have a few more. This is my little studio space, and like that, I don't know if the light, this is another.
Yeah, I love those flowers.
Yeah, like I absolutely love it. And this is a later piece where you can see a lot more softness coming through. It's actually significantly softer and then like this piece. And so that's the difference of a couple years. And then the difference between that and then like what I did for like this intuitive painting is something like this, that and I like telling people like this was the first mark I made for the whole painting, you know, and that was the very first mark, and it was this big white, you know, in the middle that you know, I had no, so it's very different. So and I've done a couple of them. I did another one that was something like this, where, you know, I had no image of a bird. I was not setting out to paint anything like this at all. It was, again, like, I know whatever needs to be expressed exists within me. So if I can just open and not judge, it will come out in its own time. And so I never thought of a bird. I never thought of clouds. I didn't think of any of those things. I was just making marks and allowing it to kind of develop. And so it was a little bit of a dance. Yeah. Yeah. This was when I did a little, and they all come out really differently. And I have no idea how that will begin to, and thank you so much, everyone, for your beautiful comments. I'm not really reading all of them, but every once in a while I see them. Thank you. Sorry. So
Oh my God.
Fully, you know, I have no idea, but I know it's the beginning of like a more full incorporation. Yeah. So that's kind of,
You're walking inspiration of joy and love, and showing to people what is possible when you truly let yourself go and allow your divine essence to express itself so beautifully. Amazing. Wow. Can you post your website for people in the comments, please? And then we'll read some of the comments. Thank you, Elizabeth. I have tears in my eyes.
Oh, thank you. Okay. This okay. Send to.
Yeah, in the chat. You can just post it in the chat.
Okay. It's Elizabeth. I'm going to. Okay.
Is it your name?
Yeah, it's elizabethbutlerfineart.com.
Okay.
I'm going to post it, but I just don't know if I'm doing it right.
Sarah DeHaven wrote.
I sent a direct message to Priscilla. I don't know why. I don't know how that works. Oh, everyone.
To everyone. Okay. Yeah. Sarah wrote, the intuitive one looks like a magical realm. Mm-hmm. The first one.
Yeah. You know, I have to share this amazing quote that also really helped me. So a lot of things went into making this whole thing happen. And somebody, I only get one notification on the emails, and it's whatever comment, the thread on the message board that's about who would you like us to reveal. So I commented once on that, a month or two ago. And so because of that, I get emails every time somebody comments, and I just haven't dealt with that setting yet, but sometimes I'll just read them. Oh, who else? Somebody, I don't know who, commented about an artist, Hilma af Klimt. This woman that I had never heard of. And then, so I was like, I got to find out who this woman artist is that I don't know, who was a medium. And anyhow, so I do this deep dive and do all this research on her, and her paintings are extraordinary. And she was like, she was sort of actually the initiator to abstract art, and, but we don't know about her anyhow. But so then I saw a documentary on her and it was incredible. And he was a quantum physicist who was talking about her work, but he made this comment that was really interesting and very helpful for me, that, in terms of the visible realm of what we see, like even just in light, you have gamma rays, X-rays, you have radio waves, all these different waves. You have this huge spectrum of light, and the visible part of it is just this big.
Mm-hmm.
And so as an artist, if you want to portray things as they are, you can't portray them how they look, because that is not how they actually are. In terms of, it was really helpful for me, because I thought, yes, I get that, because sometimes when I'm making these pieces and I listen to my intuition, even in my current body of work, where I will put a color there that somebody might, you could say it's not there, but intuitively I know it's there. It was almost like what he said gave me that evidence to understand, there's so much that we can't see. So why am I questioning my intuition? Oh, because it doesn't look like it's supposed to look. Well, we don't really know how it actually looks if we're only seeing with our three-dimensional eyes, and that, so I think that's helped me start to not question so much either, because it's like, no, most of the world, this is the visible spectrum, and this is the spectrum of light, and we can see this much of it. So I have to how do I represent all of this in here that none of us have eyes to actually perceive? The only way is intuition. The only way is that it comes to me intuitively through clairvoyance or clairaudience. And so who am I to question that? So that was a very helpful part. Again, a lot of these kind of clarity, a lot of this clarity happened before. And so I feel like that all of those were preparation to help me tackle the probably defenses or the argumentative aspect, the resistance, all of the resistance. So I need, when we have, that's my other encouragement. Like if we have resistance, there's a reason why we have resistance. And the idea of letting go, it does sound annoyingly simple, because it isn't that simple, because you can't just say, well, I let go. I let go. I just let go. Oh. I have tons of resistance, and identifying and getting to the bottom of where those resistances are, and then gathering evidence to help me counteract those unfounded fears does help in the process of saying, okay, I don't need to be so afraid. I can be more open to intuition, because actually, and for me, who feels very safe in that analytical frequency, it makes sense. I have to paint things not as they see, because that's not how they are. I can't see all of it. It has to come through my intuition. So that's
beautiful. Thank you.
That's perfect.
And we're all emitting photons at all times. We're emitting light frequencies that human eye cannot see, but there's machines that can detect it.
Yeah.
It would be interesting what's going to come next. As you're opening up and trusting, please share all of your artwork. I think it's, yes.
Thank you. I'm very, I absolutely will.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Yeah.
Amber just wrote. Oh, let's see. Do you want to read some of these and maybe answer?
Okay, so what do I do? Go to chat, go to the chat.
Chat.
Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, somebody's in a painting retreat this week. Ember's in a painting retreat. That's so wonderful. Good. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if anybody has. Yes. So Pushkara says, going back to the scary letting go, a reminder to myself to honor the great ununderstood mother. Yes, being comfortable in an I don't know realm. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's kind of exciting. I like adventure, so.
Oh, this is so fun. This is why I said these episodes are our favorite. This is really where we get to experience.
Okay, so somebody's asking if I at any time connected with my spirit guides from guidance. No, I've never. And like, to be honest, my clear audience was like 110, the level of fear. And it does still scare me. What is it? What am I going to hear? What are you going to say to me? I don't know.
Well, I have to answer this. I'll be right. This is like Thursday. Sasha's, they're calling. I hope they're okay. I'll be sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Sure.
We're in the middle of a life. Yeah.
So, hold on. Let me just, yes. Okay. Okay. So, what was I? Oh, I was talking about, oh yeah, I know. So I've never felt like there's no spirit guide or anything in particular. And, I was raised very traditionally, which is probably related to some of the, it could go either way, right? Like I feel like I was raised Catholic, and so I was always very aware of the spiritual realm. We talked about Mary and Jesus and visions and visionaries. That was all very comfortable. So it's interesting to me that I had all of this awareness and comfortability with angels and things like that, but I never communicated with any of them. So, and I think that there was so much fear about being open to that kind of thing that it definitely is like, it still is, because there was a lot of, right, what you would say entities. So there's an awareness of like, you could be opening yourself up to other entities. And so because there's, unfortunately, the messaging was more about it being unsafe to experience these other dimensions than it being safe. So, and if I had ever, I think, if I had come to my parents and said, a spirit guide was, they were just.
Oh my God, Elizabeth, I love this. Actually, Alejandro and I talked about it a while ago, because I remember when I started hearing things for the first time and seeing it all kind of opened up. And I thought to myself, because I came from a very analytical background, pharmacist, okay?
Right.
And at that time I was in a compounding setting. So we're like weighing, making recipes and doing things like that. And then on the side, of course, I was doing energy medicine. And I remember hearing and seeing things. Like I would literally see giant angels. They would come during sessions and they would talk to me, and I freaked out. And I thought, oh my God, who do I tell? Because none of my friends were ever experiencing anything like it. And I remember signing up in Tampa for the spiritual community where this one psychic was teaching and getting together. And I remember walking in, it was all men. Did I ever share that story with you? Okay. And I thought, oh my God, they all look weird. Like all these people are weird. What am I doing here? But then I sat down and we started sharing, and I thought, wow, these are my people. Like, I'm not crazy. I actually felt safe. Like, and I thought, I cannot believe it, but I couldn't tell anyone. because I felt like I will be judged or this will happen. But then there's so many confirmations that I started receiving as I was working on people that I felt that it was safe to at least tell the people I was working on,
Right.
this is the message I'm receiving and this is what's happening.
Yeah.
So I understand that.
Right. And if you're afraid of that and you shut it, it's not going to come because you can't receive it, you know? And that's where I'm continually like, okay, well, I am still a little afraid. That's okay. I think what's after fear? What's the level right?
Desire.
Yeah, okay. So I have to start wanting it. I don't want it yet.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I don't want to hear any messages, at least audibly. I will receive all messages visually.
Yeah, it's a kind of a freaky thing when it happened. I remember that, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, did I just hear that? And it was a male voice.
Wow.
It was a male and very strong, and it sounded like somebody was speaking into like a big one of the, I don't know in English what it's called. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like in the old days, they would drive in the car and what is it called? Bullhorn, megaphone. Yeah. Megaphone. Yeah, I don't know in English what it's called. So anyway, that's how it sounded. And I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Oh yeah, somebody, yes. Okay, somebody can study my astrology. I would love that. If anybody, astrology, that sounds great. And then someone asked if I had to overcome a fear of financial security. No, because I never really had any money. So it was, I have had to work through financial issues for sure. So that was probably, I know that number right now at 250, that was a huge success for me. When I saw that my finances were at 250, I was like, that is awesome, because that definitely was a place where I consistently had fear and lack. And even more recently, working with a coach, because I knew there's a difference between making money and having money. And I was pretty good. I started to get good at making money, but I couldn't keep it. And there are too many messages from my own upbringing, spiritually related, especially, that made it difficult to sort of experience abundance. But that's very different. But I'm a little bit of archetypically like a gambler. I don't gamble, but I mean, I'm a risk taker. So I quit my job and just said, like, I don't know how this is going to work, but it's going to work because I have to do this. That's why. So it was definitely like, I knew my soul, I could feel my soul, like I needed to quit teaching and just do it. And I quit. A couple other things happened at the same time. So some of it I was pushed into, and some of it, but then things started presenting themselves. And then I was definitely not making money at all for quite a while, but I was nannying. I did all sorts of different things, but it did not matter, because I knew I had to follow this. So, and I've worked in so many different studios. Like I've painted outside, I've painted in a bedroom. For the first like year, I was renting a room and painting in my bedroom, you know? So it just didn't really faze me, because I had no other option but to paint. However that looked, I knew I had to, if that makes sense.
Be loyal fully loyal to your own cause.
Yeah. And I suppose that's the integrity, you know, that alignment, like
100%.
I try to be really that. Yeah. Like if I have to, you know, I have to. And that's been part of my whole journey is given, especially the faith tradition part, given this very beautiful Catholic, beautiful upbringing, but there is a very strong tribal sense to it. And so even full expression artistically, there's fear there, because it might not align with some of these beliefs about what art should be or what art should do.
Mm-hmm.
So detaching from that. And I know I felt a shift in myself personally when I detached, when I moved away from needing to adhere to a set of rules or dogma. Like, I felt it was very scary because I have treasured a lot of the gifts that come with the mysticism of the Catholic Church. But that, you know, when I stepped out of that, I felt a shift in me, and I in terms of I forget which one, but Dr. Hawkins talked about it when he goes through the levels about how one is particularly a shift outside of duality. And that, I don't remember, but anyhow, I could feel that, like that detachment also has opened up. So all of it is a part of kind of this, nothing's isolated, I guess. This creative journey is related to all aspects of full expression and letting go of resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I think everyone right now is in love with you.
Thank you. Are there any more?
Any last questions? Yeah.
Are there any? There we go. Where is it? Oh, okay. Yay. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. We don't want to hold you up, so I know you have to go. So it's Elizabeth Butler fineart.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. It's been just a pleasure, and I'm excited and grateful. This is so impactful, and it's helped me so much, so much. So I'm so glad, and thank you to everyone in the community. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Our favorite day of the week is Tuesday.
Yay. Oh, and say hi to Sasha for all of us.
Yes, I'm so sorry I had to step away because they called 3 times like within an hour. So I was like, oh my God, because we're supposed to pick them up.
They're later, right?
Well, I guess they missed their flight. So but they're coming just later, like an hour and a half later. So anyway, everything is okay. So yes, you guys will see us if you join us live on Friday. We'll do an episode live streaming, I think, to YouTube. I don't know through which channel, maybe New Earth.
Oh, I see.
Through New Earth, but we'll have it on this platform too. So you don't have to stay, to wake up early if it's too early for you. Although it's going to be a little later on. I think he has to.
No, actually, you do have to wake up early. Okay.
He's not a morning person, but we will have to. I think he said it's either 1 or 2 o'clock, but we'll find out. Eastern Standard Time is when we'll do it. Will we send a link? I don't even have a link yet. Whenever it's created. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then I'm just connecting with Sally Smith right now. Is there a way to do this?
After I think
the
in
Zoom?
the chat.
In the chat.
Oh, just have Sally email.
Go to.
Oh yeah, just email me on my website. And my email is very simple too. It's elizabethbutlerfineart@gmail.com. So I can put that in there.
Message.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you so much. And please share like your new art, new things. We want to see it and hear from you, please.
Okay. I will keep sharing. It's beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.